Well, this act is actually probably an act which is out of control at this point in time. We are living next door to a national park, the Okomu National Park precisely, and also to a forest reserve. And we have drones that monitor our boundary zones. And if you go onto the other side into the national park and into the forest reserve, you will see unmitigated destruction of the forest in the national park as well as in the forest reserve. At our last count, when we put a drone across there from the Okomu River, which is our southern boundary, going in no more than 300 odd meters, we picked up more than 117 logging camps. So it is wholesale slaughter of the forest there. We have spoken and given the evidence through to the forestry unit of the Ministry of Environment. It has been posted on the Edo APOI website. Dr. Festus Onagule, who is the reforestation head, is actively looking into it. And I think, as you're aware, the governor is very, very keen to remove this scourge of the illegal logging. If you look at the Okomu River, Friday, a week ago, the area forestry officer, accompanied by the Marine Police, they impounded and stamped 375 logs on the river. They also impounded a lorry that was coming across here with more than 400 planks. So it is never ending. The biggest concern we have is not for ourselves, but for the national park, where there's this wholesale slaughter of trees. The good thing I think that has happened in the last couple of weeks is that the national parks of Nigeria have agreed to go into a partnership with ANI in order to try and see how they can preserve what's left of the forest and the fauna and the flora. So that may help, because they're busy training the rangers now to go out and do better work. And also in conjunction with the Edo state government, ANI have now got a 30-year contract to sort out and preserve the Okomu Forest Reserve, including having to train more than 100 forest officers. So hopefully that will help in the long term. But right now, if we don't stop the wholesale slaughter, it's just going to be a disaster zone. I've been here 16 years and was happening before I met it here.
Wow.
So it's got progressively worse. I would say in the last 3 to 4 years, it's become that's just become out of hand completely. What happens is that the illegal loggers don't normally just do illegal logging. They steal my product as a sideline. So, for instance, they will steal my banga, or they'll steal my rubber. So it is a problem for us in that these people who are illegally in the national parks and in the forest reserve belts, they do a multiplicity of illegal acts. So, and including murdering my employees to get the product. In the last 5 years, we've lost more than 10 people due to acts of wanton just robbery and assault and murder, to the point where I have to have 24/7 security to protect my property and my people. So it is seriously a major problem for us, because first of all, these people are there to do bad things. So the sooner they can stop the illegal logging, hopefully the sooner they will move away and stop the product theft as well. So we do need government and police and even maybe security force intervention. In recent months, with Governor Obaseki's government, is including himself, who has been very, very vocal and help, especially on the security front. So that's the major problem that we had before, because I cannot go outside of my company's boundaries. I'm limited to that. That's my jurisdiction. So I can only protect if they come across. But outside, that's where the problem is. They all sit on the outside of the boundary. And until recently, nothing has happened. There has been no policing actively and that kind of thing. And it's got to a point where most of the bandits and hoodlums have run into the forest now, because they know there's no police, there's no army, there's nothing. And the governor is cognizant of this, and I'm sure you'll see it's not just this forest reserve he's now trying to clean, but most, if not all, of the forest reserves in Edo State. So we really support him in that regard, and we hope make sure that we can offer resources where we can to assist him in that regard. Well, we don't have forest other than what we call our HCVs, high conservation value areas. More than 10% of our total land area is under these HCVs, which is forest. Okay, so we try and protect those to the best of our ability. However, sometimes we do have issues where illegal loggers have come in and have cut the trees down. But we try with our security people to limit it to as little as possible, because obviously it causes problems for us, because we are under a certification scheme called RSPO, the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil. For those if you don't know what it is, it's basically like an ISO certification. It's renowned, and it's worldwide accepted as a certification whereby the company that does palm oil does everything right in terms of people, planet, and profitability. In other words, we look after all of those things in order to make it a sustainable company, which includes looking after the forests. So if we do not, we will not be certified. So we take it very seriously. So yes, it has affected us because we have seen in some occasions, but it's by far very much less in our HCV areas than in the national park per se, and also in the forest reserve. Well, I mean, I don't know about climate change per se affecting it, but I'm sure there will be some repercussions and negativity in terms of whether the rain falls in the same pattern or in the same density as what it used to. For me, it's more the fact that we have to make sure that the resources, because that's what the people are after, the resources are looked after. If we can sustainably look after our resources, we will not have this wholesale destruction that we see. And there needs to be law and order. Without law and order first, you cannot do anything. And there's 800 square kilometers or more from here down to Gili Gili, which has not got one policeman, not one soldier, nobody. When you jump over the Okomu River here, it's anyone's place. So that's the biggest problem that I think we have at hand. If we can get law and order, and then we can control the resources to become sustainable, then I think things will work better. So initially after the hardwoods, but now there's anything that's left, that's all. So mainly softwoods that are coming out now because the hardwoods are all gone. So that's the problem. That's why they're moving into the national park, because that's the only area really that has hardwoods of any note left. But soon that's going to be finished as well. We have an MOU even with the Okomu National Park. And as I said, we have now also a partnership with Annie as well as the national park to see how we can not just the fauna but also the flora as well. Make sure the reason being because most of our high conservation value areas link up with the national park, so we have animals moving backwards and forwards. So we are very, very serious about making sure that the Okomu National Park does not become obliterated like most of the forest reserve is in the Okomu section here. So we are very serious about it. We've done a lot of sponsorship and donations to the national park over the years. We've been with them now for at least 10 years now, helping them where we can with resources like vehicles, fixing of vehicles, fuel, building housing for their staff, and a number of other things. So we are very, very close to them. Well, I think what has happened is because there's no more forest reserve, because there's no more forest, the Tangia farmers are coming in. We know that because when I go down to visit my communities where we do a lot of corporate social responsibility work, our company spends more than 250 million a year on communities within our footprint for projects such as buildings like schools and clinics, housing for staff of nursing and teachers. We also help some of the smallholder farmers with stuff like fertilizer or wheelbarrows and equipment and the like. So yeah, it will certainly affect them. I don't think in the end of the day you're going to remove the people. So Annie, I know, has a plan going forward where they will try and make it a sustainable network of farming along with forestry going forward. So, but that means that one has to get the law and order there first. The illegal loggers and anybody wanting to do illegal things should be minimized so that those people who wish to do the livelihood that is not illegal is able to come on board. I agree with you 100%. Ignorance, although ignorance is bliss, it's no excuse for the law. And at the end of the day, somebody knows what they are doing wrong. I will agree, I think, to a point where the person doesn't realize that if you just keep cutting trees down and cutting the trees down, nothing happens. But I can even say that the most ignorant of people will soon know that they cannot find the trees that they used to want to find anymore, and they will ask the question why. So that to me is not a very good one. I agree with you, there's probably not enough sensitization. Again, the reason I feel is not because our company per se has not been doing anything, but I would put the blame squarely on government, because government was in charge of the forest reserves, and in the past, I'm sorry to say, government mismanaged it to a greater or lesser extent, and also there was a lot of problems in terms of extortion and corruption between both government and also people and companies, which led to the wholesale destruction that we see today. Hopefully with the new forestry commission that the governor is putting in place, we will see that minimized or hopefully eliminated, so that we can get a better managed system of the forest reserves within Edo State. But I agree with you 100%. You need to have the whip and also the book, so people understand that this is not what is going to happen going forward, and sensitization does need to occur, absolutely. We haven't expanded, so for the last couple of years we have been doing more or less the same amount of oil every year. So for us, it hasn't been of great significance to us. Where it has, the prices obviously increased, but that's not just to do with the Ukrainian war. That's to do with how the economy has been managed here or otherwise. So that's led to nearly hyperinflation.
Wow.
So, that's why the prices have all gone up. So our volumes have remained fairly consistent, but the prices have gone up because inflation has just dug into everybody.
Wow.
So that's been the major issue that we've had.
Wow.
So yeah, and also we don't just willy-nilly intend to expand. We expand if we want to, if we have the funds and my board decides that we want to do that. We will look first of all where it is, make sure that obviously everything is done correctly according to RSPO certification rules, guidelines, and so that we do not later have issues of land grabbing and the likes, so that we are completely and utterly in the green.
Wow.
So we will follow those very, very stringently. Well, those people that came in and attacked, those are the very hoodlums that I was talking about earlier. That they either do illegal logging or they steal our product. So that's basically nothing to do with land grabbing.
Oh.
Land grabbing normally comes from NGOs that have, should I call it, specialized interests and self-interests. We have all of the documentation. The Edo state has what they have, which is a Ministry of Lands and Survey, or they call it Edo GIS. Now you have to be registered with that ministry, and all our documentation is there. It's been done. The other good thing about our company is that we have never taken over a new company. In other words, Greenfields project. We've always bought from another company or from the government. So the government is the one that originally started it, or another company. So that company has been there for certain years, or the government have been there for a certain number of years. So effectively, it's not like we've come and we said, oh, we like this piece of land, we're going to take it over.